Okay, now I should be good. I just gotta figure out. Um, let's get one of these, and now we're all sorted. So everything should be up and running. We are live, um, and just gonna have some fun. Talking through the entire draft process and things like that. Um, some stuff on the tracker that had been updated that I feel like I can touch on y'all about. Um, so we'll let some people um, slide in here as I wait, but um, you know, just chilling. Let me see if I can hear myself. So we'll let some people. Yep. All right. Audio's all good. Um, Stream has just started, so hello to anyone that is there. My numbers aren't really altering or anything like that, so I'm not sure if that's just a me thing or um, what's really going on. Um, okay. Um, well, in the meantime, I guess I can start going through my settings that I usually go to. There we go. All right. Well, just waiting for people to chime in. Um, okay, I think some people are coming in now. Um, okay, yeah, there we go. My thing was, I guess, bugging for a little bit, but what's up, Brandon Holland? How are you, man? A peak draft includes Zion Young, Kristen Miller, and Jalen Farmer. Do you consider Jalen Farmer to be a center, or do you consider him to be a guard? Um, Actually, let me get my settings up too. Uh, let's take away this taskbar. There we go. Um, I would like that draft a lot, actually. Um, you know, I think Jalen Farmer is a really good player. Backup guard, yeah, I think you could develop him, and then when a White Teller or a or not Keelan Rutledge, I don't know why I say Keelan Rutledge, or a Ed Ingram finish up their time here, then you could look to bring someone in like your Jalen Farmer to develop behind them. I think that's smart. Haven't met with him as I'm on this screen here. You can look at all the names, but you can sort it by um, names. Josh Geske is the only J, so no Jalen Farmer there. We do have some top 30s for some offensive linemen, just Caden Proctor, Emmanuel Pregnon. I assume it'll be some more as time goes along. If we want to look at all the top 30s, you could see a lot more have came in. Um, I've been trying to update this on the daily. It's a little difficult, but we're pretty up to date. Zion Young up there, Kalen Black up there, Miles Kitzelman up there. Center, cornerback, skill positions with the other. What do you mean by Oh, yeah, like with the other picks go with those type of positions. So if we look at those positions, actually we can go ahead and do that. We'll go with fit rankings and then by position. Um, or well, you can go top 10 targets by position just so it makes it a little bit easier. But you can see uh, the highest score, the average of all the offensive linemen. You can see how many of them have a high probability. Connor Liu or Parker Brailsford are the top centers there. Um, so there is that. All positions you can see Kirsten Miller, I think, is the top overall. Um, and then you have Miles Kitselman there, which I think is interesting. Um, Caden McDonald up there too after a top 30 visit. Not sure if he was a team captain. I didn't see anything from that at Ohio State. Tyler Yedem's a fun one. Um, just a weird but really really good fit for the Texans. Big Citrus on a top 30 visit. His score now jumps. Um, just don't really draft from the Big 12 that much, so maybe we see something change there this year. But yeah, we're gonna let some people start to come in and just chill for a little bit. Are you in favor of a mock draft or just talking ball? What's y'all's opinions? What do y'all want to do? I'm very flexible with my schedule. I can even just start playing video games and talk ball if you want me to do that too. Um, but I have mock draft simulator here that I can just. I'm not gonna start the draft, but I have it right there. I could open up another site if anyone wants to see like the free agent tracker. We did have some pretty big news today. Um, Will Anderson Jr. and C.J. Stroud got extended to a fifth-year option. You can see what their cap hits are going to be due headed into next year. Stroud due about 26 million. Will Anderson at about 21 and a half. So there's that. Extension eligible. I don't think we'll extend Stroud. I would like us to extend Stroud. But you know, they're extension eligible. That's well, we traded for I think it's Marte Mapu is the way you pronounce it, but we traded for him out of the Patriots. It was a Casario type trade. Um, 2027 seventh to the Patriots for 2026 or 2020. Hold on, 2027 sixth to the Patriots for 2027 seventh in return. And then Marte Mapu, who I think could be a pretty good depth option. I think that does eliminate the need for a linebacker. So, people on the board at, 82, 83 don't necessarily need to be the choice right away. Um, so, it'll be interesting to see the draft ideas because we don't have many needs. I'm not sure if y'all watched the Daniel Jeremiah um, mock draft with Peter Schrager, but he was basically just saying this is an obvious trade down spot. We don't really have many needs. We could trade up for a Kenyon Sadiq or someone like that who we just fell in love with throughout the draft process and really want to go out and get him. Um, I know he's every single live stream. I just see him there. What's up, Montego? Though, how you doing, bro? Yeah, he's seemingly just everywhere. Um, can check if anything is going on in the feed. Go to Stressens' account just because there is a lot of stuff going on. Um, like um, Aaron Wilson's been tweeting a lot. You're everywhere except Twitter. Um, EJ Speed interview with Aaron Wilson, guy I really like. Um, Kubiak talking. Um, the Astros just suck. I was really hopeful we can actually go search him up. But, I was kind of hopeful once I saw this stretch of games where when, we lost that one, but then we bounced back with an 11-0 win. and then we swept the Red Sox and won the last two against the Angels, and we just went cold again. Our relief pitching is just horrible. Never tweeted in your life? Interesting. Some anti-Twitter people here. Mariners off to a really slow start. But yeah, I thought the Astros would be a lot better than they are, to be honest. Getting swept by the Rockies is never ideal, and then you have to go play the Mariners in Seattle. Um, and I'm actually going to be at this game against the Cardinals right here on Friday, so that'll be fun. But um, yeah, Astros have not been all too hot to start out the year. Texans spoke to Zachariah Branch. That's something I need to add to the tracker. Really good player. Would be good in the screen game. Um, he had an interview with Landon Robinson, a guy who's been on the tracker for a while. Um, if you go back to draft, he had a high probability score of about like 84 right there because he was a captain. Not really a conference fit. Um, the only guy in that conference was uh, Tank Dell. People digging up old tweets on people. Yeah. Yeah, I saw that thing with Mendoza. Like, at some point, you got to give him a break. He's 20, what, 22, 23, and he was 17 when that came out. Like, yes, he's still, of age to not say something like that, but at the same time, he's not matured. He's 17. Um, Texans had a top 30 with Zion Young, who is, as you can see, or well, should be, um, up there. I don't know why he's not. Oh, he's at 81. Excuse me. Thought he was at 87. Um, oh, it's because he's an edge and not a D end. Hold on. We can. I can show y'all in the live time a change real quick. Um, so you're not gonna see my screen, but you will see it on this screen. Once I refresh the page. And you're gonna see Zion Young's score jump because he got. We've never drafted an edge, but it's because they're considered DNs. Um, so we're gonna see some change here, live, and let's make sure that it did it properly. Um, Need to find Mr. Zion Young to make sure it did it correctly. Yeah, they are considered edges. Huh. Maybe there's just a mishap. Yeah, it'd be an edge actually. Zion Young in the first gives him a 50. Yeah, exactly. And it's not like he's an old player either, so you do have that flexibility with the player that you'd have for a long time, um, which I think could be neat. Uh, yeah, I'm in the trade down camp as well. Um, I think if Zion Young's there at 38, or if you trade down with the Cardinals at like 34 and he's available, then that should be your pick all day of the week. Um, but let's see. Draft history. Maybe that's why some edges. Okay. That's exactly why. Do you think would you think the Falcons are, in the boat to trade up for a right tackle? Is that what you're saying? It's a shame that they got Jawan Taylor. Like if Maxi Honick were somehow fell or something like that. All right, yeah, we actually are going to see this live. Um, did it publish? So we are going to refresh this page, I believe, and it should be updated. Okay, not yet. It hasn't published. It's my mistake. They're starting right tackle retired today. Really? Yeah, I don't know if Blake Miller would be available at 28, but I did not know who is their right tackle. I know they have Lindstrom at guard. We'll see this live now because it did publish, and you can see Zion Young is now up to an 88 because for some reason in the tendencies, the draft history, D end was not equal to edge, but now that it is right. So quick fix, but you can see Zion Young jumps a bit. I'm sure some other edges will jump a considerable margin as well. Max Llewellyn up to a 78. So yeah, Honachor and Blake Miller at 28. Let's do a mock draft. Why not? Have some fun with it, and we'll begin. Are y'all in trade up camp or trade down camp? I know uh Montego is in the trade down camp. Yeah, and I'd be inclined to agree with him on that topic. Caleb McGarry, that is. Yep, that's who it is. Thank you. Stick and pick or trade down. Okay, so we'll just go all the way to 28. Um, and we'll see what happens there. Sadiq goes there, Miller goes there, Proctor goes there, Woods goes there. So, are we sticking and picking or are we trading down, guys? Can just give you all a poll. Um, there we go. We sticking and picking. We trading down. What is the general consensus? I got one for trade down. Um, um, edge D tackle or offensive tackle, all good positions. Yeah, exactly. Now we're tied up. We got one saying to stay. What would y'all's opinions be if we went to go with Omar Cooper here? I haven't seen too much on that topic, but considering a player like him fell all the way to 28, I feel like it's hard to say no. Pick D tackle here at 28. Would y'all be in the Caden McDonald idea? I think Kristen Miller could go in the first round. I'm a big fan of him. Um, Stayed at Georgia all 4 years, which I think is interesting. Two say trade down, one says no. So currently on the trade down idea. And if we did trade down, 36 with the Raiders could make sense. 32 with the Seahawks, I don't think makes sense because you try to ask for like 96 because you can't get 64 from them, and then they don't really have much draft capital other than this. I think the Seahawks would be a team um, that do, you know, trade out of the first round, try to get some more capital for the rest of the draft so they can take more swings at it because they lost a lot of pieces. So I don't think they'd be trading up inherently. I think the Raiders would be the spot that we do trade down with if there's anyone that's a fan of that. D tackle or O line. At it'd be 36 and then 38. So you're banking on Christian Miller being available, Emmanuel Pregnon being available, Zion Young, maybe if he's available there, or Basantis. You get down the board a little bit as you go along. Malachi Lawrence is a guy I really like though. Really really good pass rusher. Um, so a lot of things to debate, but I think we are going to take the Raiders idea. I think that's the one that makes the most sense. You're trading down extra, so you should be able to get 67 there. Um, it's a 30% chance, really. I mean, but then I bet you could just keep adding on picks. Something like this maybe would make sense to me. I do think in real life it would be something like this that does go through. I'm not sure the Raiders would want that. Um, so we'll give him 141. Maybe ask for like 219 or 208 in return, just to get some extra picks on the board there. Um, so yeah, we'll go with the trade down. It seems like the poll is saying to trade down, so we'll end it there. Um, and we will, in fact, go with the trade down. And the Raiders do take that first time, so quite nice there. Move down to 36, and then we can see what we want to do there. Ahana, ooh, oh no, oh no. Okay, that was a worst case scenario. You get Pregnon going there, McDonald going there, Banks going there, and Young going there. So I think you're in a spot where it's Kristen Miller or Lee Hunter for you. Um, Dang, man, that kind of sucks. Zion Young was so good for Mizzou this last year. Um, I guess that is the risk of trading down. We're not going to trade down again. I think you're at a point where you stick and pick. And it's still going to be a good draft. And I think the guy I like the most, if we're going based on my opinions here, is probably Kristen Miller. Um, I do like guys like Rayshon Benny or Big Citrus down the board, but I think Kristen Miller is a very, very solid player. Um, Braden Holmes says Miller as well. I'm inclined to agree, and I think um, he's got a really good first step. So I think you could develop him into a better pass rusher on the interior of it. Hunter does have red flags. That is true. His pad level is a little too high. I mean, it's to be expected with the 6'4", 330 player, but um, I think he's got some developing to do. And at 24, you're not getting a fifth year option, so he's going to be 28 at the end of his first deal. And then if you give him another 2, then he's already going to be 30. So there's that. I think here at 36, we will go with Mr. Kristen Miller here. Best fit, actually, if you want to go back to the draft prospect probability by 5 whole points. He's got the highest score, top 30 visit, team captain, conference fit. Um, we do draft a lot of D tackles. We had 2 pre-draft meetings with him. Combine meeting, and then obviously top 30 visit counts as a meeting as well. And then D tackle is our biggest position at need in this draft, in my opinion. So we'll go with Christian Miller here at 36, and then here at 38, this is a spot where if you don't like anything available, you could look to um, trade down or trade out. Get um, get something like you could probably get like 87, 90, and 94. To be honest, or 87 in a second next year. So, you could look to do some stuff, some magic like this. Um so if you're looking for next year's capital, you could definitely trade this pick. Um you're in the trade out again camp. Um yeah, I like Lomu. Not my favorite option though, and I think if he's a guard, he might be better as a run blocker, but the run blocking is a little bit scary. I think Basantis would be nice here at 38. Sticking and picking at 28 does seem best unless we get. I mean, who's going to be a good team? Could look to the Bills and say, hey, okay, apparently not. But you can get something like this probably from the Bills and, just get some good capital for next year in case they just have a really bad season, or the Cardinals, and do something like that where you trade down again, but you do pick up a pick for next year. Because at the end of the day, we do need capital for next year. Um, and I think Casario is going to look to do that throughout this draft. And I think I like the Dolphins trade down the most. You could see picking up Basantis. I could as well, to be honest. But I think the Texans are going to look to get capital for next year. So I think, trading down to like 75 and 94, and then like a third. No, it'd be like a second, and then we give them like 167. It'd be some weird iteration of something like this. I think where you give up picks for this year, but you get a pick for next year. So we're gonna offer this to the Dolphins. Just take it. Just thank you. So we pick again at all the way down at 59. So we do have a considerable margin to go, but we will just simulate there. Caleb Lomu doesn't go all the way till down there. And here at 59, you could go back to back defense. You could go with Jennings Dunker if you're looking for a guard to develop. That's certainly one. Um, I love Derek Moore. That's one of my favorite players in this class. Same with Denidus Sutton. Um, Keelan Rutledge at 59, I think, would be nice too. Connor Lew at 59 is nice as well. So you do have a lot of options here. I think Gabe Yakis is certainly intriguing. A guy that's a really good pass rusher. Got good twitch for his size at 6'3", 270, a um, bulkier player on the edge. So, a lot of things to consider. Um, but let's see what y'all think. Are y'all fans of anything at this spot? I feel like we got a pick here, considering we traded out of two selections there at 38. We did pick up 36 though, so we are we're stacking ourselves up for next year, getting a second from the Dolphins, and then we do have 75 and 94, which we did not have originally. Um, but we now don't have 167, so we do have a 100 pick gap. Brandon Holland wants Gabe. I can't say that word. Well, I guess I can say jackass, but don't know if YouTube would be fans of that. I do think it is a good fit, though. I think he'd really fit the Daniil Hunter mold. And then you could, with your next pick, start going offense, maybe back to back with Keelan Rutledge and Connor Lew. And then now you just start looking at skill positions like Sam Roush at 75. Or, I mean, you wait a little bit and get Slaughter. Yeah, I don't know. You got a lot of different things to do, but I do like the idea of Gabe Yakis at 59, so that is going to be the pick there. Mike Washington Jr. does go there, and then Zachariah Branch goes at 66. It is his name at the end of the day. But yeah, Yakis is the pick there at 59. So you've kind of gotten your defense already. So are y'all in the camp of going offensive line now? Just getting Rutledge, getting Lou, and then kind of moving on, and then finally going after your skill positions after that? Or are y'all thinking, let's go get our skill positions now? We can find some offensive linemen down the board, like a Logan Jones, a Connor, or not a Connor, a Jake Slaughter. I mean, what other off? Bo Stevens, maybe, guy I really like too. Um, sorry, that is corner, not interior offensive lineman. Billy Strouth, I like. Jeremiah Wright, I've been high on for a while. Do it go back to back offensive lineman? Yeah, I think that is the smart idea. So we're going to go with Rutledge here first at 67, who I think he's been working out at center, but I do think he's going to be a guard in the NFL. So we will take him at 67. 69, I mean, Jadarian Price is available, and you could try to hold out for Lou at 75. Are you risking that though, or are you just going all guns blazing on the offensive line? Yeah, fifth round receivers I love. Like Kevin Coleman's one of my favorites in this class. I really like Eric Rivers. And then, Caleb Douglas, Jacoby Lane, both guys with good size. Chase Roberts got really good production in college. And I think someone that could be intriguing in the NFL. Only caveat is the age, as is for a lot of players. But, Eric Rivers is a really good player. Age, again, Kevin Coleman Jr., really good player. Doesn't have the age concern, really. Um, Caleb Douglas, good player as well. Doesn't have the age concern. Um, Jacoby Lane doesn't have that either. So you got a lot of options there. Um, but is it a price idea, and then try to hope that Lou gets there in about 6 picks, or is it just shore up your offensive line right now and then uh, figure out the rest later? In my opinion, I'm going with Lou. I don't even know if Jadarian Price would be the best idea for Houston. I think he's going to go somewhere that he should carve out a role. So I think like 71 to the Commanders could make a lot of sense for Price. Even, well, I guess the Commanders don't have a second. We have their second. But, the Commanders could trade up for a guy like a Jadarian Price. I think the Steelers at 53 could be a Jadarian Price spot. Um, Seahawks at 64 makes a lot of sense. I'm surprised I didn't go with him there. But yeah, I think I am going to go with Connor Liu here to try to just shore up the offensive line. Um, so that's the pick there at 69. I wouldn't be surprised if Jadarian Price goes next. He does. Is it crazy to say I want Antonio Williams here? I just love him as a player, like a lot. I'm a big, big fan of Antonio Williams. I think he's a top 50 guy. Uh, is it also crazy to say I think this is a good trade down spot again? Panthers at 83 makes a lot of sense if you get like 150 and 159. So then you kind of fill that void of places you don't have a pick. And then that would give you 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's 11 picks. So maybe you give up like 208 or something like that. Um, I do think the running backs next year are excellent. I think the whole class next year is just insane. So I wouldn't be surprised if some guys stay in college just because they know how competitive that class is. Um, but are we fans of the trade down idea? Are we fans of just picking here and getting Sam Roush, Max Clare? Um, I'm in between actually. I'm kind of torn here. Um, I think the not that it was a mistake, but I think the what happened to us in the first round kind of messed up our draft ideals. Christian Miller's a great player, don't get me wrong, but I feel like I'd want a Pregnon, I'd want a Cade McDonald, I'd want a Zion Young even at 36. Um, so it makes it a little interesting. But I think I am. No one's really saying anything, so I think I am a fan of just picking up these three. And then obviously you could get like a seventh or a sixth or maybe even a fifth next year, but it doesn't really matter in this. We'll take these three, move down a couple spots. Antonio Williams does go there. And here at 83, I think it is the perfect Sam Roush pick. It is our MO. That does tend to happen a lot. I don't know why. I mean, at the end of the day, though, like the Jackson Dart trade, it worked out because we got Higgins, and then we got a pick at 69 this year, which I think is a good pick. And then we were able to use that other pick to move up for Woody Marks, um, which in retrospect may have not been. Well, I guess the team would have been horrible last year if it wasn't for Woody. So there is that. Here at 83, though, I think it is a Sam Roush pick. I really like the way this is coming along, actually. Um, Roush, Lou, Rutledge, Yakis, Miller, Kieron Crawford, maybe. Um, We did go with Yakis though, so I guess it takes us out of those sweepstakes. But Jonah Coleman, Saki Wheatley, um, Deontay Lawson, I really like, and we haven't gone with the linebacker. I don't know how early we'll go with the linebacker though. Um, After getting Mapu in, but it doesn't really stop you. If we're looking at the top of the board though, I mean, maybe we could have just gone with Jadarian Price and said, "Hey, we can get our center at 94 because Heck, Slaughter, and Jones are still available." I think Logan Jones is awesome. I'm a really big fan of him. Um, just played a lot of football to be honest. And an older guy, but a really really good player. I think would start for the Texans if he came in right away. So there's that. Um, Farmer is gone right here at 91 to the Bills. I think he could look secondary here. Um, don't really love the options. I mean, Charles Dennings is interesting. Jalen Kilgore, I absolutely love. Um, I don't know where he'd play. I think he could be a safety. I think he could be a nickel. I think he could be an outside boundary corner. Takari Davis got amazing size and a really physical player. So maybe that's something teams look at. I mean, Genesis Smith still being available is obviously intriguing, just with how good he is in coverage. I think this is your perfect backup to a Kalen Bullock. Um, exactly. Intriguing size and athletic traits for a single high roll. That's exactly what Kalen Bullock does. So if you're looking for a backup to him, I think Genesis Smith at 94 does make a lot of sense. And then, you're hoping Billy Stroud at 106 would make a lot of sense. I mean, Landon Robinson and Chris McClellan, I really like too. Jalen Kilgore, I've just talked about how big of a fan I am. And you know what? It might be a reach, but I really, really like the idea of Jalen Kilgore in Houston. And I think Houston likes the idea too because, again, we'll go back to this, but if we go to top 30 visits, you can see Jalen Kilgore, captain, met him at the combine, had a top 30 visit with him. On the probability score, he should be somewhat high. Not going to be the highest just because safety slash corner isn't the biggest need, but top of the safety charts, you can see the only hit is the position of need. Um, Pre-draft meeting, two different types of meetings. Um, Good conference fit. Was a team captain. Had a top 30 visit. Fits the criteria. And if you want to ask how we get this criteria, you can look at the tendencies page. You can see the position distribution, where we select the players from, what rounds we select them in. Average round we draft a certain position. So corners the top, obviously Derek Stingley, Kamari Lassiter. What players have been a captain? What players have not been a captain? Um, the meeting types breakdowns. Top 30 is obviously the most important, and it's there with 19. You can't see the percentages, so I think I am going to change it to a legend at the bottom. Who's had meetings, who's had no meetings, and some of them probably have had meetings, they just haven't had a record. So that's how you get it. The draft history there, you can see everything put into this database. Um, but yeah, Jalen Kilgore all the way up there, I think is a really good fit. Um, so you know what? I'm going to take a reach here at 94. I'm a big fan of the player. I think he will end up going around this range. So why not? Um, Sam Hecht and Logan Jones are still here. I mean, at some point, do you just take them? Like, I don't know, man. At some point, do you just say, yeah, you're the best player available? We already got Connor Liu, but let's have some rookie competition. It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. But why are they available? I don't know. Demetrius Cronover is probably a smart pick here. A developmental tackle that I think could end up starting after Braden Smith leaves. Markel Bell, same exact thing. Got the size. He's got the um, Yeah, I was thinking that too. Markel Bell is interesting. Got the size. He's your perfect Trent Brown developmental piece. He could be potentially your swing tackle. He could be your right tackle. You don't really know. Um, and I think it does make some sense here. We do need to bolster the offensive line, I think, a little bit more, and I think this would be the last piece we add. So we'll go with Markel Bell here at 106. He is Trent Brown 2.0. You are correct. I'm completely in agreement with that. In terms of a prospect, I just think they're very, very similar. Play left tackle, play right tackle. Llewellyn goes that high. Are you kidding? Um, and Kevin Coleman goes there. That's who I wanted. Um, ranked 167 goes at 154. Where did Llewellyn go? 137? 152 to go to 137 is interesting too. What are the odds that the Texans go with two tight ends in this class? I don't really know, but it could be something to look at. Caleb Elam's Orr is a fun one. In my opinion, I think he could be a good player. Yeah, exactly. Under that same tree of the Patriots and stuff like that. So I think Markel Bell in Houston, he would develop really nicely. And I'd be excited to see how he does. I think here at 158 and 159, you're looking at skill positions or big skills, which can contain, linebackers, tight end, or linebackers, tight ends, um, in the box safeties. Claiborne and Cape, I'm a big fan of Capehart actually. I think he's got really good size and a really good run defender. Complimented Peter Woods really really well. I don't know what the hell happened to Clemson. Uh, I think I'd prefer Claiborne over Allen. I think Allen's more of your in between the tackles. Um, I think he's your power back type. So I don't know if the Texans would be looking at that unless they want their David Montgomery replacement already. I think you could look to your home run hitter though in Demont Claiborne, who I love. I think you want him to bulk up to 205 maybe though. Um, but I do think it makes a lot of sense here at 158. So I am going to go with Claiborne here. Um, and then at 159, we can go. I think it's going to be Capehart here. I really like Eric Rivers, but I think there are some receivers at 208 that could play an impact. If Chase Roberts falls, if Savion Thomas is there, Tyrone Montgomery is there, even like a J. Michael Sturdivant, I really like. Um, just an explosive player who showed really good flashes um, explosive flashes in college. Dylan Bell, Squirrel White, fast guys. Obviously, you could look to Jalen Waltall. For some reason, Jordan Mosley's all the way up at 36 ADP. It's news to me. But Jalen Waltall, really good player. Um, just killed it at Incarnate Word. Um, probably needs to put on some pounds though. Um, but I mean, you can see the production there. Incredible player. Maybe it's Eric Rivers here. Maybe it's Capehart. I think the smart idea is to get another defensive lineman in there and go with Capehart. So that's what we're gonna do, and then we'll head over to 208 where we'll see what receivers are available. Caldwell goes there. Eric Rivers goes there. Aaron Anderson goes there. No other receive. I jinxed. Oh wow, I really jinxed it. I was gonna say no other receivers, but then Thomas Roberts Law, I'll go right there. Tyler Montgomery's. I mean, I don't know why he's this low. Um, if we're talking about where I'd want Oscar Delp, I'd pick him where I pick Sam Roush, or even Kilgore. I think that's a fair spot for him too. If I didn't go with Sam Roush at 83, I think 94 is a good spot for Oscar Delp. And I think it's a debate between the two. Who's the tight end? I guess it'd be tight end three, correct? Because I don't know. Some people have Roush over Claire. I think Claire is probably the tight end two in this class, and then it's between Delp and um, because obviously you have Stowers too. I'm not a big fan of Stowers though, so maybe it's tight end four, if we're being honest. But let's get back to where we are. We're at 208, and available to us. I mean, if you want to talk about a potential receiver now, not many teams can mess with Tanner Koziel, in my opinion. If you're looking for a guy that can line up in the slot and be a big guy, that's one. Tyler Montgomery, I mean, just incredible numbers. Obviously played at John Carroll though, so there's that. I would take a tight end late, Montego. That's why I was thinking Tanner Colgiel. Maybe not your traditional inline tight end. Um, like if you're looking for an inline tight end, I think Lake McCree fits that bill. Um, I think Jack Velling fits that bill. Really good blocker, or not a really good blocker. Sorry, really good receiver. Um, if you're looking for the blocker types, Wilcock Merrick's a really good blocker. Tanner Arkin's a really good blocker. So it really depends what the Texans are looking at, but I do think you could go two tight ends. And you know what? We're gonna go with Tanner Colgiel here at 208 to be a big slot. I think that's a fun one. And then to round out the draft, we can look to maybe I was gonna say Michael Morris, but he goes there. Tyler Onyedem goes there. I mean, Harold Perkins is there. You can take a project. It doesn't really matter. So we'll round it out with Mr. Harold Perkins here. See what we end up grading out at. I do think the two tight end is interesting. I think that would mean that Foster Moreau, Cade Stover, or Brevin Jordan are fighting for a roster spot, though, which is interesting. Um, A minus for Miller, A minus for Yakis, B for Rutledge, B minus for Lou, C plus for Roush, F for Kilgore. I don't think it should be an F. B, B minus, B plus, B plus, B plus. Overall, A, B plus. I think that's fair. I think the draft did go well though, but every time we did trade, it's because we traded out of a pick. So maybe we try to trade up a little bit more to compensate for trading down and stuff like that. But uh, my headphones just died, I think. Um, but you know, you get your best fit. You get who else do we get in there? Another very solid fit. Another very solid fit. Um, another decent fit. Another decent fit. So you can see that I don't know why it says Oklahoma for Diane Wilson. Um, not entirely sure that's correct. That would make sense. But yeah, I think the draft did end up going pretty well. I appreciate all y'all who tuned in. I do have somewhere to be, so not a short stream by any means. It's about 47 minutes or so, but I do appreciate all y'all for tuning in.